This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear Aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear Aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And this week, you're welcome. I made you watch The Lost City.
Thank you.
So, Paige, how much do you love me right now?
I love you a lot. I honestly, I had a very busy day and had to kind of cram this in between a couple things. And
oh, man. Tell me slow, baby. Tell me slow. Narrate it like Sandy B. You know what I'm saying?
Lube it up, cram it in with the beach and your brown hair. It made me wish that I hadn't had to cram it in and that I could have just sat and enjoyed it.
You know, savor it.
Because I did really like it.
Savor it, Paige.
Savor it.
Like that piranha.
Like the piranha did. I am of the firm belief that Channing Tatum should almost exclusively do comedies. And it's not because he's a bad actor. I want to be clear, that's not what it is. I've seen him do serious things. He's great. He's fine. Whatever.
He's fine. Yeah.
But I think comedy is where he truly, truly shines.
Yeah.
Because he clearly understands how to make fun of himself.
Oh.
And he fucking nails it.
So good.
He's such a joy to go on this trip through this movie with.
I literally wrote in my notes when he was like the guy. I was like, I can't think of anyone else who could do this the way he does so convincingly. He's so good at it. He's so good at playing just such good-natured, heart of gold idiot who's just puppy in love with your main character. He's so good at it. And he crushes it. And his dichotomy with Brad Pitt and him and Brad Pitt's 3 scenes or whatever is perfect.
When they shot Brad Pitt in the fucking head, I lost my mind. I laughed so hard.
You have to kill him, Paige.
It's so good. It's perfect. I also shout out to Divine Joy Randolph, who plays Beth, the agent.
The agent, yeah.
She just won for The Holdovers. And she's incredible in this. She's so much fun. I'm as invested in her B plot as I am in the A plot.
Same.
That's hard to do in a movie. I liked it. It was very, very fun.
When she convinces the police or whatever on the island to go to the other island that they're actually on.
Yes.
That monologue she gives, she goes on a journey, man.
I love that monologue.
It was so good.
In my notes, I just have this monologue. Yes, girl.
I know.
So good.
Oh, man. It was kind of I don't know, if I just read what she said, it would be sort of boring. The way she acts it is so so good. You know,
feel
it's just, it's all in the performance. Yeah.
Well, and my favorite part of that monologue is she's like, I want my feet massaged. I want my shoulders massaged at the same time. And I immediately thought, I was like, well, that's going to be tough. And she's like, I don't care about the logistics. I was like, you knew.
I knew right away. I was like, oh, cool. We're talking forehands. That's 2 people you paid. There ain't nothing wrong with it. They're just masseuses. Like you're not.
Oh, no. Are you laying down? Are you sitting up? How do you let 2 people get to those 2 different parts of your body at the same time? I think laying down is the best option.
Oh, she figures it out at the end.
That's true.
Yeah. She's sitting up in that chair on the beach.
But then your shoulders are against the chair. That's the tough part. I had a lot of thoughts about this because I, too, desperately want my feet and my shoulders to be rubbed. Like, I'm going away for the weekend to a hot springs thing for a friend who is celebrating finishing radiation. And I got a text this morning that was like, they do sound baths every day at 5 p.m. And I was like, I will be there. Like, that sounds so relaxing. Like, I am here for it.
I'm sorry, a sound bath?
Are you unfamiliar with a sound bath?
Can I just ask a very simple question?
Sure.
That's not going to do anything for you hygienically, right? Like,
No.
Okay.
It's more of a meditation thing.
Yeah. I've actually done stuff like that. I'm into yoga. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even that. It's literally like they use like bowls, like these kind of sound bowls, and you just kind of like sit there and like vibrate, like reach your higher consciousness or whatever.
Paige, you may not know this about me, but my mom is real weird. So
That's true.
about 20 years ago, she learned how to teach yoga from like an ashram, from like a Sikh ashram. So if you think I haven't sat through a sound bath, you're insane. I went to an arranged marriage at that ashram, and it was dope. It was awesome.
I bet it was.
I loved it.
I bet it was.
Yeah. Anyway, Sikhs, check them out. They're great people.
Yeah, great farms. A lot of the farms in California are Sikh owned.
They know how to yoga. That's all I'm saying.
I have a pineapple Fanta here.
Ooh, don't you wanna?
For when we reach the point in the episode where I can get super silly because I have nothing else to do after this but eat the baked ziti my husband made and pack for a trip that I'm going to try to wear as few clothes as possible. So, like, let's go. Let's get into it.
Paige, I don't know how we can't get into it scene by scene after you tee it up like that.
That's what's up. I know we've only been talking about the movie and our first thoughts for 6 minutes, but you know what? We're going to talk about it as we go through because I think we both really liked it, and I think we're going to have a lot to say.
Yeah, we didn't really do first thoughts, but I did also like it. Into the plot!
We open on Channing Tatum in the wiggiest-ass wig I have ever seen.
Wait, that's a wig?
Yeah.
Paige, of course it's a wig. Yes.
It's the one wig Todd can recognize. That's how bad of a wig this is.
But that's truly how bad it is. Like, guys, if I can recognize the wig,
that's how bad it is.
Y'all recognized it a long time ago.
Yes. And I do love, because this is essentially like a dream sequence of her writing one of her romance novels.
Yes.
And I love that she turns to him and they're like in a room, they're tied up in a room full of snakes, very, very Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, very.
Or Holy Grail, or Last Crusade, I guess is what it's called, because that also has snakes.
I mean, they all have snakes. That's like an Indiana Jones trope.
It's an Indiana Jones thing.
That's like a thing. Yes, they're always in there.
Yeah. Anyway, she turns to him and is professing her love. And at one point, it's like, it's not just because you have a degree in mathematics and gender studies.
I know.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to love this movie.
Paige, it's so well written that like, full on, that's fully ass gibberish, but it's so funny.
It was
like,
so good.
It was so funny, but it was like so fucking scholarly in this like really tense moment. Like, you know, this must be like a daydream or something, you know, like we're going to pop out of this at any moment.
Well, and here's my favorite part too, is that they start questioning, how did all the snakes get there?
What do the snakes eat? Like, what are we doing?
What are the snakes doing here? And I was like, I've never thought about any of that in any of the Indiana Joneses.
Why is it not eating the henchmen? Do they have like a rule against biting henchmen?
I was like, this is perfect. This is great.
Yeah.
She deletes it because she is currently writing, and we hear voice messages from Beth, her agent.
Oh, you mean Agent Exposition?
Agent Exposition, but she's crushing it.
Welcome back to this episode of Agent Exposition.
Yeah.
Agent Exposition. connection. And what do we learn, Paige?
We learn her husband, John, has passed.
Oh.
And it's been a couple years, and
It
it's been a
has.
tough couple years,
Yeah.
and she has not really gone outside. But she's about to release her new book and has to go to a book tour that she doesn't want to go to. We also, as these voicemails are happening, she's like looking into her husband's office. We
Yeah.
see the like symbols that she'll have to like actually define later.
Yeah.
And we kind of get an idea that like she and her husband were writing these, or at least he was some sort of adventurer, archaeologist, whatever, and she was writing these books based on,
I got archaeologists. Yeah.
based on real stuff.
Yeah.
But she sits back down. She finishes the book. We cut to the opening day of her book tour, and they
Yes.
put her in a sequin onesie. And Todd, have you ever worn a sequin onesie?
Paige, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not the lead singer of The Darkness, so I have not. But I would. I really would.
I have. I own one.
I think I've seen you in it.
There's pictures around.
Yeah.
for sure.
I don't think I was there. I think I've seen it on Instagram.
Yeah. Mine is silver.
I have seen you in that.
And it goes all the way up. It's literally like neck to ankles, whole body. Like I should have worn it to the Renaissance tour. It was amazing.
Head, shoulder, butter knees to toes.
There you go.
All the way down.
It's biscuit knees, but you got to butter them because, you know.
You gotta butter them knees, Paige. I know you gotta butter the biscuit, but I only had so many syllables to work with to make it fit.
Are your biscuit knees buttered? Would you like us to assign someone to butter your biscuit knees? The problem with a sequin onesie that they do not really, they display a little bit in this movie because you will shed sequins all night.
Oh, yeah.
No, like it just happens. But also because they're all stitched in place, they get caught on each other. So sometimes your arm, like under your arm will get caught to your body and you're like, I can't lift my arm.
You're like Velcroed together.
Yeah, it's either that or if it's really poorly made or if it doesn't have sleeves, it'll just like dig into your armpits until they look like hamburger meat.
Well, I'm a little grossed out.
But also hamburgers?
I do like cooked hamburgers.
Sure. But they put her in the sequin onesie
Yes.
and we meet her social media person who has also been featured heavily on I Think You Should Leave, and she brings that same unhinged energy to this movie, and I love every second of it.
Oh, I love her. Yeah, she is great in this movie. And Paige, I think it's safe to say this is pretty accurate to my learned experience of what marketing social media people are like. And I say that as someone in marketing.
Yes. Well, when she's just like, can't wait to see you, besties, hashtag Shawn Mendes. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then some of the tweets that she sends later,
Oh, yeah.
I was losing my mind.
Did I just get kidnapped? Hashtag kidnapped, hashtag Shawn Mendes, at Shawn Mendes.
At Shawn Mendes?
Is she trying to imply that Shawn Mendes kidnapped him?
Kidnapped her? Well, it's did I just get super kidnapped?
Yes.
JK! Hashtag Shawn Mendes. I was like, oh, this is unhinged.
Yes.
Unhinged. I love it.
But guys, anyone can get a job in marketing. Just gonna say that. Paige, tell me I'm wrong.
I will not tell you you're wrong. Now here's the tough part, because like I had one of my last meetings of the day was with really good marketing people.
Yeah, it was me. Your last meeting of the day is with me.
Technically, but my last work meeting where they were like bringing up spreadsheets and they're like, so if we calculate this, and I was like, this is the part of marketing I couldn't do. Like, I'd be really good at sitting around the conference table and being like, what if we said, bitch, buy this? And they're like, she's brilliant.
She's a genius. You'd be shocked how many people can only do that side of it, and they can only do that side of it badly.
I know.
Paige, I'm gonna be honest with you. The nerd shit, learn that shit, because that's where you get paid way more.
Oh, yeah. Well, and here's the thing. It's like some of it was stuff I had worked on, so I was having to do part of the nerd shit, but I was just like,
Yeah.
damn.
You'd actually really like the nerd shit. I know how your brain works enough.
It's all stats,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all numbers, baby. Unless you're bad at marketing, you just like have a hunch and do that hunch.
No, I always like data-backed solutions.
Yep. Follow the numbers, baby.
The social media person. Now, at my day job, we have like a whole ass team, so that's a little bit different.
At my day job, we have a whole ass me.
You know what?
And I just hired somebody actually because
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
doing great at work. So like we could afford Help.
I'll talk some shit on a company that don't exist no more.
Do it.
Rooster Teeth had really terrible social media people.
Yeah.
To the point where they would like post stuff and like have to retract it the same day. It was wild. And like I would just get texts from Armando that was like, can you believe this shit? Anyway, it's really easy to be bad at being a social media person.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. I don't know that she's a bad social media person in this movie.
I do.
Because sometimes chaos gets people to follow you.
Sure, yeah. The only thing she's doing wrong is hashtagging and tagging Shawn Mendes.
Shawn Mendes.
What did he do? Like, he didn't have anything to do with this.
He didn't do anything, but that'll put her tweet in the trending lists because Shawn Mendes would have been trending at the time.
I know.
I do love me some Shawn Mendes. It's good music. Lost in Japan, that song's a banger.
I couldn't name you one Shawn Mendes song, although I'm sure I know like 6.
You've definitely heard them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
And to be honest, you would probably like Shawn Mendes. It's a little rockier. It's like rock pop.
I love Shawn Mendes. I just don't know any of his songs.
If I played one for you, you'd be like, I know this one. You just didn't know it was him.
That's what I'm saying, Paige.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But you're not the target audience. They're trying to market this book to them horny girls. And nobody is hornier for Shawn Mendes than 30-year-old women. It's troubling because he's not 30. I don't think. Not yet. Is it okay for us to thirst over Shawn Mendes? I don't think so.
I'm not putting a stamp on this at all. I'm not judging it at all. I think it's great. How old do you think Sandy B is this year? Now, this movie did come out 2 years ago, but I'm saying this year for shock value.
I said 54.
She's 60.
Good for her. She looks amazing.
She does. And she is doing some stunts. She's doing great. How old do you think Channing Tatum is this year?
Channing Tatum this year is probably 45.
Oh, Paige, so close.
Yeah?
44, yeah.
44. I knew he's not that much older than me.
So 16 years difference.
Yeah, 16 years difference. They look the same age in this fucking movie.
I thought she looked a little bit older, but I thought that actually sort of made sense.
Yeah.
Because she would probably have been like 30 when her first book hit. And he would have been like 24, 25
Yes.
on the cover, right?
Yeah,
so I thought she should have been 5 years older. And that is, I think, believable.
Yeah.
I don't think she looks 16 years older at all.
Not at all.
She doesn't look 60.
Honestly, he looks good for 44. Just put it out there.
Paige, the man's well put together.
And he can dance.
He's not the shapes that do it for me, but like I get it because he's got good shapes. He's got good shapes to him, guys.
He's got good shapes.
I can admit that.
Shapes are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'll say this, I think I'd enjoy hanging out with Channing Tatum because he seems like a real fun, silly guy who also struggles to read.
He might. I don't know for sure.
Well, I mean, I do too. I'm dyslexic too, baby. Yeah.
I know you do. I've texted with you.
How accurate and painful that was for me just now.
I'm
Paige.
so sorry.
How
I just
accurate
came
and
off a
painful.
roast battle live
leave it
stream. I'm
in.
so sorry.
Leave it in. I want everybody to know what it's like. No, I mean, that's so true though, because like I never proofread my texts. I just like fire them off, then I get off the toilet and go back to work.
There you go. There was an email from, I want to say the Magic Mike days, where he accidentally like replied all in a studio email, and it was just like, ha 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 ha, suck my dick. And I was like, I want to hang out with him. He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, man.
This is the best thing I've ever read. Let me see if I can find that really quick, because I bet that is, okay. It was for 22 Jump Street.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. It was an email thread with Jump Street co-star Jonah Hill, Sony Pictures co-chair Amy Pascal, and other studio employees, where it was his joy at 22 Jump Street's opening numbers, which placed it second on the list of best ever opening weekends for R-rated comedies. Or as he says in the email, quote, "We got Kate Blanchett with this box office, bitches." It's in all caps. I'm going to share my screen with you. It starts out, F you, Ted, second of all time, biatch. Come on, Jump Streeters. We got Kate Blanchett with this box office. And then I'm going to share my screen so you can see the rest of it, because he just typed out, ha, 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 with like 1 million A's, like 472 times. Oh my God. How long did it take them to fucking type that?
It's called copy and paste page. It's easy.
Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna share this screen with you.
Good God. That is...
And it's not all the same. It's not all the same. Some of them have other A's.
A madman sat in the back of a limo eating a piece of pizza, drinking champagne, typing this out for about an hour and a half. This is the strangest thing I've ever seen.
Here's the best part. It went on for longer than that, and Vulture cropped it for the article.
I do love that, like, they have to write all those all of that over and over and over, and then at the end be like, by the way, this is the abridged version.
But I was like, that's hilarious. He sent that to, like, studio execs.
You know what's crazy, Paige? That's binary. He wrote a message in binary. Go after it, nerds. The zeros are H's, the ones are A's. Tell me what it says, nerds. I want to know.
Anyway, we cut to the book tour, hosted by Bowen Yang. Like, hilarious in the one scene he's in, but I fucking love Bowen Yang every time we see him in anything.
He's so good.
And they introduce her. She just kind of quietly comes out and goes to try and sit on the stool, and he's like, mount it. And I was like, oh.
Well, okay, we got to set up a few things. Oh, we also forgot to set up the sweeter after difficulty thing. That's like the toast she does with her like husbands, whatever. And they set it up for the end, which is like a sweet little payoff. So I want to plant that seed here.
It is. I can't pronounce it, but yes.
I'm definitely not going to try and pronounce Latin. What am I, a doctor, Paige?
No.
I grew up too poor for that.
I've texted with you.
Yeah. Oh, Paige, I interviewed, I don't know, conservatively 100 doctors, 100 surgeons at my last job. And I realized I could have been a surgeon.
Yeah, most of them don't know fractions. It's fucking wild.
They're not smart ass people. They are dedicated people.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
They're smart enough to be a doctor. There's like a threshold for that for sure. I just think it's lower than most people think. What makes it special is the dedication in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like in school till you're fucking 30. That's crazy.
It is wild. I work with a ton of doctors at work, and I am always amazed at how many times I have to explain very simple concepts.
Yeah.
But I chalk it up to like, they're smart in different ways.
Yeah.
But also always get a second opinion. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's fair. But like when I was on the phones doing customer service back in my college days, I would have doctors call in and I'd have to explain very basic sort of like math to them, right?
They don't know fractions.
Paige,
or percents.
I'm not disagreeing, but you know what? I don't know how to replace someone's hip. Like there's like a bunch of shit that like they know that they've specialized. I can explain to this guy what rollover minutes are. Like it's fine. Just take care of grandma's hip.
So one of the questions we get all the time that has made me distrust doctors is we have a report that people use for payroll because they usually pay the different practitioners in their practice on a percentage, right? So like the practice keeps 30, the practitioner keeps 70, whatever.
Sure.
Whatever your personal percentage is. And they're really mad that the report doesn't calculate that percentage for them. And I was like, okay, but like, do you have a calculator or like Google a percent thing? And they're like, no, like they have made us do it multiple times. And I'm like, if I walked into any retail establishment and was like, so this is 40% off, how much is it? I'd know in a minute or two. And they would have it. Like when I worked in retail, I was so fast at percents, it was alarming. And it's not a difficult math thing to do. And these people measure medication sometimes. And I'm always like, you can't do 70% of it. Like, what? What? It makes me troubled.
Paige.
It troubles me, Todd.
I'm only saying this because I know where you work. Therapists aren't doctors.
Well, we also have doctors.
I know.
We also have doctors.
I know.
The doctors are the ones that are meaner about it.
Honestly, that was a joke for Mikey. Mikey would have loved that joke.
Mikey would have loved that.
It's a shame he died.
I know. It's so sad that I had to Highlander him.
God rest his soul.
I've never been to the jungle, so like I can't really identify with this movie.
Oh my God. By the way, she's pouring out the Faygo or whatever it was.
It's
Fanta.
Fanta.
It was a Fanta. That's right. Don't you want to?
Pineapple Fanta. It's my drink of the summer.
It's two things I don't like.
What?
Pineapple and Fanta.
You don't like pineapple?
Or Fanta.
Fanta I get. Pineapple. What's wrong?
You're like, you don't like pineapple? I mean, yeah, sure, fuck Fanta, but pineapple?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, like, yeah, would I prefer a glass bottle of pineapple Yarritos right now? Sure. But, like, this is what was at the store. You don't like pineapple?
Paige, it makes me very uncomfortable when you roll your R's at me.
Is it too tangy? Is that, like...
Yes, that is no joke. You nailed it in one. That is what it is.
Interesting.
Yeah. I feel like I'm being punched in the mouth. I don't like lemonade either. Lemonade's the only drink that makes me more thirsty. Or as I like to say, thirstier. I know it's not a word, Mom.
I think thirstier is a word.
It is now.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate your service.
Don't say the millennials never gave y'all nothing. By the way, I didn't get a chance to set up the other big thing that we needed to set up here, and that is that jumpsuit thing that we talked about earlier, because she's in that, like, is it pink or purple? It's like...
It's purple.
Yeah, it's like on the line, though. Like, in some lights, it could be a little pinkish.
Magenta or fuchsia is what I would call that.
All right, I can
jumpsuit.
make up color names too, Swanily, but it's fine. Those are made up, right? You made those up, right?
No, those are very real colors.
I know. I work in marketing, and anyone can get a job in marketing, Paige.
I mean, that's how we ended up with a mustard yellow that they insist that we call sun.
Yeah, everybody knows the sun is Fikish. Anybody can make up a color name, Paige.
I'm just saying that the sun might be full of mustard. Okay, so Bowen Yang is telling her to mount the stool. She does. And then they introduce Channing Tatum because he's going to be on the tour with her because he's her cover model. And they play the final countdown. Like, the fanfare for him versus her is madness.
Oh, there is no fanfare for her.
Right.
She is almost kicked in the butt onto stage by her agent exposition, who is great. And I'm only calling her that because she
Amazing,
does sort of
amazing.
set the scene at the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
She's wonderful. But everybody's there to see Dash. Everyone wants a dash,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't stop myself from saying it, and I heard it, and I apologize. When it came out of my mouth, I felt very bad about it.
Everyone loves it. And I do love that they like, okay, let's open it for questions. And she gives this like very intellectual answer that I was very interested in.
Well, okay, but Paige, you're a fucking nerd, and I love you. Respectfully, you're a nerd.
I am.
I'm a nerd too. But, like, I got why they wanted him to take his shirt off. He is a well put together man. Like, I get that, like, me on stage.
No disagreement.
No one's going to ask me to take my shirt off, you know?
I mean.
But him on stage, that's got to be that's a 50-50. He's going to get that question.
Yeah, he does. And she identifies as sapiosexual, which means that she's attracted to people with high intellects. Which I think for her, it comes down to she's a nerd. She wants a companion that can talk through these things with her. And I think by the end of the movie, we realize that Channing Tatum is still that person, even though she didn't think he was. He is kind of a good conversational partner with her in a different way.
I mean, not to like mansplain this to you, Paige.
I mean, I know he's hot, but they also have a connection.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Like, of course she ends up with him. He's gorgeous. Like, honestly, Brad Pitt may be more age appropriate. I think had he lived,
yeah,
they'd have been in Pound Town by that evening.
Oh yeah, well they also would have escaped.
I mean, yeah, but he got shot in the face.
And I've never laughed harder.
Because, you know what? Table. We'll get there. Because honestly, it is my favorite sequence in the movie, in a movie full of great sequences.
Yes. Anyway, they ask her to take off his shirt. She agrees. She gets her watch caught in his wig. She also tells people that she's going to kill him off in the next book because I think she's just like, I'm fucking tired of this shit.
I think she's done. She's written 20 books at this point.
Yes.
She's like ready to do something else. I get that. We can't get George R.R. Martin to write a 6th and 7th, but this lady's written 20. I get why she wants to be done with this character, you know?
I do love that the pratfall that he does, she basically gator rolls him off the stage and through the table in the front.
I honestly love that it ended like some episodes of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes.
Because like a wig got snatched and someone's ass was on the floor.
There you go. Yeah. Now, if there had been a tinier wig under that wig, then you would have gotten extra points for a wig reveal.
Oh, nobody expects the wig reveal, and I always am delighted by it.
I'm always delighted by it. If you're going to take that wig off on purpose, you better have a reason to do it.
You didn't know this wig was a hat. Paige.
Did you lose your hat, Mary?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever said, and you're welcome.
Well, some people call in drag parlance, sometimes they call a wig a hat. Nice hat, Mary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do love that we, from the jump, after she accidentally throws him off the stage, they get into a little bit of a fight backstage. But in this fight, we learn that they have known each other for years, and whether she wants to admit it or not, they are friends. At least in his eyes, she is his friend.
He's in love with her.
He loves her. I know.
He is fully in love with her. I'm not saying that, like, he had anything to do with her late husband's demise.
I hope not.
But I think it's on the screen. So, like, he definitely, like, is in love with her. Not that he killed the husband. Sorry. I could see how you might, that's not what I meant. I apologize. But maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
He seems too good-natured for that. Like, I don't think he wants to kill anybody in this movie.
No, and we also don't know when he kind of fell for her, but it seems like they've been working together for a long time, and so there is an existing relationship there. And he basically is like, look, I understand that you don't want to be here. I know that you don't want to leave the house, but you have to keep on living. Like, he's like, go visit ancient Greece. And I love that she's like, how would I visit ancient Greece? And he's like, I don't know, a plane? And she's like, it's ancient. It's in the past. He's like, whatever. It's like you just stopped living, you human mummy. All mummies are human.
All right, but like, I understood what he meant. He meant like a live mummy.
I did, but I did love the runner of like, mummies are human.
Yeah,
like,
it was pretty funny. I liked it too. Because like, it really like codes him as dumb. Which is terrible.
It does. Well, the ancient Greece one made me laugh really hard because I was like, ancient Greece.
Yeah, I actually love that like halfway through this movie, they have to introduce you to a character that's just more chaos. So it looks like Channing Tatum is more of like a normal guy.
You mean the one, by the way, whose character name is Oscar?
Of course.
Played by Oscar from The Office,
Yes.
Oscar Nunez.
Yes.
Whose best friend is a goat. I'm choosing to believe they are platonic.
He does love that word, but does not know what it means.
Does not know what it means.
So perhaps I mean it that way too in his mind, but he definitely fucking that goat.
I mean, he should be careful because of the teeth. Anyway.
Sure. Just don't have sex with a goat. Yeah.
Yeah, don't have sex with animals regardless. I feel like I shouldn't have to tell that to you, and this is the Pineapple Fancy speaking.
Guys, in case you're wondering as to whether you should have sex with animals, Paige is definitively no on that.
No, this PSA brought to you by Pineapple Fanta. Don't have sex with animals.
Pineapple Fanta.
Want a Fanta? Don't you want a? Don't fuck animals.
All right, we can't. I don't even think we can use any of
Do you
that
think
shit.
they'll sponsor us?
No, I don't.
What about Yarritos?
Paige, you cannot just make up color names like that, okay?
Anyway, she's going to leave and she's like, can you call me a car? And they're like, yeah, sure. And it's like, bring the car around because she gets full ass kidnapped. Hashtag Shawn Mendes.
I mean, she doesn't actually, though, because she like kidnaps herself, kind of.
Yes.
Because she just climbs into a car full of people.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think I would have questions before climbing in that car. But also, Rafi was right behind her. And so I feel like he would have just put her in the car anyway.
Sure, but like in the eyes of the law, I'm not sure that's how that plays out. Like, I really do think Daniel Radcliffe could get away with it up until the point he takes her on the plane.
Maybe. I mean,
He is the nicest, okay, but he's the nicest kidnapper I've ever seen on the screen.
once I saw that charcuterie spread, I would have been fine.
Paige, I literally wrote in my notes, if you got kidnapped and a rich man gave you every cheese, you would not be mad at him.
No, I'd be like, yeah, I'll translate. I'm just going to need some time alone with this cheese.
Let me just eat this cheese. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
Someone bring Oscar and the goat. It's goat cheese, Paige. That's the joke.
I know.
We're not gonna fuck the goat.
No, but I heard goat cheese and got hungry.
Same.
Because it's delicious.
Yeah.
Love a good chèvre.
We should finish the scene though. So like she full ass gets kidnapped. Channing Tatum sees it and like tries to get in the car that was actually brought around for Sandra Bullock. And he's like, no, I'm not helping anybody again. And that guy, that driver who had one line in this movie.
Fool me once. What?
That guy has a story I need, Paige. I want to just like, quote, have a drink with that guy, you know?
Amazing.
Yeah.
But we meet Daniel Radcliffe's character, Abigail Fairfax, and she's like, Abigail? And he's like, it's a gender neutral name like Leslie and Beverly, which technically are all gender neutral names. by the way.
Yes.
But it does crack me up every time they're like, his older brother, Beverly? No, Leslie. Like, they play with it a lot, and it made me laugh every time. They're very clearly the Murdochs, like Rupert Murdoch's kids. Like, absolutely is who they're supposed to be.
And if you're not familiar, like Secession, it's like Secession also.
Yeah.
Although that's not the Rupert Murdoch story, but like it's like that kind of vibe.
No, it's wild though. 4 seasons of stress.
I kind of love it though.
I was glad it was over, but I did love it.
Me too, honestly. But I could take a whole season of Wamsgams. I could just take all of it.
Wamsgams. Anyway, he basically tells her that he's going after the Crown of Fire, and that's the one that's described in her most recent book. And he's like, in between the passages of coital reverie. And we did say that this is Daniel Radcliffe, right?
No, I don't think we did. It is Daniel Radcliffe himself. Yeah. He walks in doing his best Andy Serkis impression.
Yes.
It's great.
It's great.
He does great in this movie as a bad guy.
Love it.
But I mean, I will say he is super charming in this first scene. He does reveal himself to be a monster, but you knew he was a monster.
Yeah.
He's a rich man's son who's like got nothing to do because his younger brother took over the company.
He just wants to steal artifacts from the people and cultures that they rightfully belong to for his own personal gain. Yeah, he's evil.
Paige, it belongs in a museum.
It belongs in a museum, but a museum with the people that it belongs. Like the British Museum is technically a museum, but it keeps keeping people's shit. So like, you know, maybe not a museum or a museum in its home country, I guess.
Wherever. Like there are a lot of countries that like loan out their stuff to museums around the world.
That's fine.
That's an arrangement I'm great with.
Sure. As long as they're able to get them back if they want it.
Well, and get paid for the benefit of having them there.
Yeah.
Or whatever they work out. I mean, sometimes it's like a thing. I don't know. Just don't steal shit. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, don't
Calm
steal
down.
shit. Anyway, he basically is like, you and your husband, like prior to you writing romance novels, you guys were searching for this. And allegedly, he was able to translate some of it, and some of it's in your book. And he's dead, so you're all I have left, which is now set up the emotional core of the story that she is about to basically finish something that she and her husband started, now that he has passed.
And sort of deal with the grief that she's been going through over the few years that since his passing. And man, like, this movie is silly and it's funny, but the metaphor fucking slaps, and I really loved it.
Yeah.
Like, I cried. This is so embarrassing because, like, Natalie and I were cuddling, watching this. I was, like, laying down. She was, like, laying on my shoulder and, like, leaning on me. And, like, she couldn't see my face, though, I guess is my point, because her head was, like, right here on my chest. And, like, when she takes the ring off and says what she says and drops it, I sobbed. You couldn't hear it. My chest starts moving like I'm crying, and she looked up at me. I was like, oh, it's so sweet though. It's so sweet.
It's very sweet.
Oh.
If I were her, I would have left that ring too. I feel like it's the best place for it.
I know. I love it. I also really love what the Crown of Fire actually is.
Yeah.
Although it's crazy to me that like there aren't. I don't remember there being, at least. I don't remember Daniel Radcliffe saying like it was a crown that contained any sort of power. It was just like an artifact.
He says red diamonds in this scene.
Oh, he thinks it's diamonds. I missed that. Okay. So he's doing this for more money?
Yeah.
That's like some Elon Musk boring bullshit. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
It's so he can have something that no one else has, but then even when he is presented with the option to have something that no one else has, the actual artifact, he still doesn't want it because it's not diamonds, because he doesn't understand the emotional weight of what it really is.
But like, okay, that shit's still worth so much fucking money.
So much
because of the story attached to it. It's why the Mona Lisa is so famous. Like, it wasn't that famous of a painting until someone stole it and they recovered it. You know, like, it's got a story, so it's worth more. Like, I guarantee you that artifact would be worth more than if that was diamonds.
It would have.
It doesn't matter what it is.
It would have. I still would have left it. I agreed with leaving it.
I don't really care. Or I would have given it to the guy who's fucking, like, lived there.
Yeah.
Let him decide. Him and his grandmother, who I think was the singer in that little area.
Oh, maybe.
It's gotta be. That's not on the screen. I read into that a little bit, but
I took that just to mean that he was apologizing to an older ancestor.
Well, I think he said abuela, right? I think he said grandma.
Well, he says grandma, but I think that was just a stand-in for like I took that as he was apologizing to the queen in the coffin.
To like the aunt. Oh, the actual queen. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like she's older than his grandma because she was like dust and bones. But like, I understand the metaphor you're getting at.
I don't know the word for anything beyond that age-wise, so it may be.
Oh, me either. Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. Anyway,
Don't know.
so he hands her a parchment with these symbols on it. And he's like, we found the lost city. It's on this island, Isla Nublar. We've spared no expense.
But Paige, they've actually spared no expense. They reveal it in just a second, but we'll get there.
Yeah, he's like, I'd like you to come with me and translate, name your price. And she's just like, no. And he opens up the windows behind him or the walls behind him, revealing that they are on a helipad or a landing pad.
Yeah.
And he has a jet waiting to take them to this island.
Paige, can I be honest with you right now? I'm going to be very vulnerable. If a rich dude called me a car, gave me a shitload of cheese, and then was like, I'll pay you whatever you want,
Yep.
and we get to go on an adventure and find a treasure, there's no way I'm saying no to that request.
Oh, yeah, I would say yes.
I am in that plane so fucking fast, Mr. Radcliffe. Let's go.
Yeah, bring the cheese.
This is not going to be a boring Cliff. This is going to be one fucking Radcliffe. Let's go.
Let's go. But regardless, at this point, she is out because they have drugged her potentially with cheese.
Oh, dairy.
Oh, no. And Channing Tatum is now trying to report her missing, but because she's a grown-up who got into a car of her own volition, they can't report her missing for like 24 hours.
I thought that shit was so funny. It's like, why is there a waiting period?
But he's like, I took a like self-actualization retreat from this guy who was like a former Navy SEAL, which there's like so many of these in LA that they're like, I'm a former Navy. If all of the people in LA who claim to be former Navy SEALs are actually former Navy SEAls, then anyone could be a Navy SEAL.
Then there are too many Navy SEAls.
Yeah,
And I don't think
yes.
there are, honestly. I think all of those people are lying.
I don't think so. I think a lot of them are lying.
Of course they
Yes.
are. They're in LA, Paige.
Yeah, they're like, I'm in SEAL Team 6 along with my entire staff. You have a staff of 12. Like, it's that, basically.
Paige, I don't know if you know this, but SEAL Team 6 is more than 6 people.
I did not know that, so thank you.
Paige, you know what's funny? I don't know that that's true either. That's a guess. I think 6 is the designation. I think they're the 6th SEAL team. I'm not 100% sure. Are you looking it up?
I am looking it up.
I can tell when she's looking it up. She gets this like, I'm on the hunt for facts face. And it's honestly great.
Yeah, I think it's more than 6 people.
Yeah.
Well, all right. You learn something new every day.
You think they took out Bin Laden, his whole compound, with just 6 dudes?
Yeah, that's why I thought it was so fucking impressive.
Yeah, I mean, they took 2 helicopters in.
Yeah, but you could put 3 people in each helicopter.
They're actually, what are they, thopters, Paige? Come on, you can put more than 3 people in.
Thopters. I'm just saying, like, it's not crazy to bring 2 helicopters for 6 people.
Okay.
It's 6 is in the name.
You want me to raid a terrorist compound with me and then like a basketball team worth of people? You're insane.
I thought it was like a stealth mission. Like they had caught him alone and they had the dogs and everything.
Oh yeah, they caught him alone in his compound full of his staff and bodyguards.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not part of SEAL Team 6. Just all of the yoga teachers in Los Angeles are. I legitimately, until today, thought it was 6 people.
That is so funny to me, Paige. I love it.
Like I thought it was like the 6 that killed him. Great.
You know the craziest conspiracy theory about that whole thing, Paige?
Sure.
So we went in with 2 stealth helicopters, and one of them, as it was landing, something happened to it and it crashed and they had to blow it up on site. And that's when they discovered that rocks are soft unless you touch them.
God damn it, Todd.
I walked into that one, baby!
Do you know that there's only 6 rocks
In SEAL Team 6?
in the whole world? There's only 6.
They're all connected.
Anyway, he's going to call the guy from the training that he went to, and he goes through his phone, and it's literally a throwaway joke, but he's like, yeah, no, his last, I put everyone's last name by like something about them, and he scrolls through, he's like, Jack Trainer, JC Butt Stuff is one of them.
No, it's Stacy Butt Stuff.
Is it Stacy Butt Stuff?
I wrote it down because I thought they were going to do a callback to it during the leech scene.
Yes.
When he says, why do they always go to the butt? And then be like, just like Stacy or something like that.
Just like Stacy.
Yeah, they didn't do it though. They're not brave like me to make a terrible joke. Anyway.
His last name is actually Trainer.
Oh, that shit was so funny though when he's like, Jack Trainer. Wait, is his name really Trainer? No. I put people in my phone based upon what they do. So he's just a trainer. Oh, okay. okay. And then they call him, hey, this is Jack Trainer.
Jack Trainer.
And then Agent Exposition's like, wait, his name's actually Trainer? It's so funny.
But I do love that he's like, yeah, it's from the touching your inner self thing. And he just like silence on the other end. He's like, anyway, my friend's been kidnapped. He's like, okay, do you have the Wi-Fi? Track the watch. I'm going to need you to bring me that phone. I'll have her back in 48 hours or your next rescue is free. And it's like, what next rescue?
I love it. It was like he treated this rescue like at some point they were going to have to battle the Noid. It was so funny to me that like it was like a pizza delivery.
It was so good.
It was so funny. But I also want to point out that in this moment, if you couldn't tell by his voice that it's Brad Pitt, in that moment when Paige said there was silence, what you actually hear is him taking a bite of an apple.
Is him chewing.
So you know it's Brad Pitt because he has to eat in every movie he's in. It's like a thing.
It's a rule ever since Ocean's 11.
Yes.
But Sandy B wakes up on the plane and is like, did you chloroform me? And Daniel Radcliffe just goes, it's a classic for a reason. Just like, I love him as a villain.
Yeah, she's like, my body is drunk because she's coming off the chloroform.
He's like, hey, the city is right next to a volcano and that volcano is going to blow. Like, it's going to blow regardless. We got to get this before it gets buried by this volcano.
Yes.
He's like, by the way, one doesn't kidnap a romance novelist on day one.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, all right, that's fair.
He actually says that after they land and he's like walking through the city.
Yes.
But when they're still in the air and he's like talking about his plane, did you happen to catch what the seats were made out of?
No. Oh, no, wait. Llama leather? Was it Mama Llama?
Mama Llama leather. That's what it is. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, that's such a funny joke. It reminded me of Bob Lala.
Yes. Bob Loblaw's Law Blog.
Yeah. Bob Loblaw, attorney at law.
Yep.
From Arrested Development. Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was very funny. But yeah, he is like, he does land and he walks her through like the lost city. And man, that scene is, that walkthrough is very like well written and silly and fun because he's talking about how like the volcanic activity like pushed the ruins to the surface. And she goes, wait, the volcano like rose the city of D? And he's like, just the tip. Like it's written in such like a silly way, but they're acting it so like earnestly.
Completely serious.
It's so funny because they're acting it like it's an epiphany in like a Indiana Jones scene.
Yes.
And they're saying such silly things. It's so funny.
It's so good.
It's honestly why I like Lonely Islands stuff because it's silly stuff delivered earnestly. It's funny. I can't help it.
Yep. They zip tie her to the chair and basically give her the manuscript to translate. But they also tell her, because she asks, she's like, are there any other documents? Is there anything else that goes with this? And they're like, there was this thing by a waterfall that had some like, pictographs of women on it, but that's it. That becomes incredibly important later.
Yeah. I do like that they set this up. And when you say manuscript, it's like sort of like a piece of cloth looking thing. Like it's not
papyrus.
It's like pretty small. So there's not much to translate. There's not much to go on. Like even when she does translate it, that doesn't tell them where it is.
Yeah.
Which, Paige, I know because you mentioned this in text to me, but like I completely agreed with you when you said it. Like this movie is great, but it's just like every other movie that does this.
Yeah.
It's like Romancing the Stone or the Indiana Jones movies, or like you just take fun parts from those, push them together, and you have this movie, and it's great. I like it.
Yeah. But they kind of insult each other a little bit, but she falls asleep on the table.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Channing Tatum lands on the island and meets Brad Pitt, who basically looks like the real Dash.
Well, I mean, long hair. He looks like Brad Pitt, right? Dash literally is Channing Tatum in a wig.
But he's got like the real long hair
Yes.
that like Channing Tatum's wig is supposed to look like.
Yes.
Which, when we get a cutaway later to all of Channing Tatum's headshots with the wig, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Those have to have been book covers, right?
Yes.
Like I was just imagining the titles because like one of them is him like in a karate like gi with a black belt and he's like
Yes.
got his arms up like he's doing like a 1980s like white man version of karate. It's very silly. And then there's one where he's just like in a button-down shirt open laying down in jeans on the phone.
Yes.
It's wild. It was so funny.
It's so funny. But he walks up to Brad Pitt, who is eating a raw coconut, by the way. And as he hands it to Channing Tatum, you can see that he has like tooth marks, like he had bit through the coconut.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious to me.
Is that not how you eat a coconut?
No.
I mean, I knew that, but like I don't eat coconuts. So like, yeah.
I mean, there are some coconuts that are soft enough to kind of pull apart, like some varieties.
Sure.
the one he's eating, you gotta like drill that thing open or crack it open with a cleaver.
Right.
But anyway, so he's like, okay, can I please come with you to save her? And he's like, why? And he's like, I just think I can help. He's kind of beating around the bush. He's like, so you like her? And he's like, well, I said something really mean and it's kind of my fault because then she left. I called her a human mummy. And this is again where he's like, mummies are human. Like, what?
What? He's like, yeah, no, I know that now.
But he basically says, I can't be responsible for you. So you can come if you stay in the car the entire time. And they walk over to the car and there's a big old muddy truck and he throws a suitcase in it. And Brad Pitt doesn't tell him anything before throwing his suitcase in there.
But he totally heard him throw his suitcase in because it like clatters to the back of that truck that's like taller than Channing Tatum is. Like he had to throw his like bag up in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then it reveals as the camera pivots to something that's smaller than a smart car. And he's like, no, this is us over here. And so Channing Tatum has to pull his suitcase out of the bed of the truck and take it over to the car.
I do think this movie does a surprisingly good job of making Channing Tatum seem physically ineffective.
Oh, he is in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
anytime Brad Pitt's on the screen, he is like obviously in awe of Brad Pitt and what Brad Pitt can do. And he just really wants Brad Pitt to like him and be like, it's like that kind of energy. And Brad Pitt is just like an older brother who had to take his younger brother to the movies. Like that's his vibe the whole time. He's like, yes, you can come, just like stay hidden and stay alive or whatever. Fine. Just don't tell mom or whatever. Like that's his vibe the whole time. And the way Channing Tatum tries to do what Brad Pitt is doing in these scenes is so funny to me.
It's amazing. And they take off together.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we go back to the compound where she has actually translated it. And it's just like, there's no way to know from this piece where it is. And he's like, I don't accept that. You're going to figure this out. But I do love that as he leaves, Daniel Radcliffe is like, one day we're going to laugh about this. It's like, I don't think so.
I do think had she gone with him, the vibe would have been totally different.
Sure.
And they would have been fast friends after this. Maybe not like romantic partners, but like they would have been friends because they found this thing together.
Right.
And that's the fantasy that Daniel Radcliffe's character is trying to live inside of because he doesn't want to admit to himself that he's like the bad dude.
Yeah, he's full on the villain.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt get there. Brad Pitt's like, I'm going to go off in the forest. You stay in the car. You're the lookout. That's what's important.
Oh, I love this. I love that setup though, Paige, because he's like, Brad Pitt is asking Channing Tatum, like, what's the big deal? Like, why are you trying to save this woman if you don't like her? And of course, Channing Tatum does, but he's trying to hide it. So he's like, no, I just want to prove to her I'm more than just like her cover model. And he goes, aw, you are. You're my lookout. And I thought that shit was so funny, Paige.
I've got a question for you right ass now.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I got a question for you in about 5 minutes.
Ask me in 5 minutes.
But Channing Tatum wants to do the part where he says, shh, you're safe, once they get her back safely to the car.
And I love how Brad Pitt goes, yeah, she'll like that. And then what happens. So funny.
Well, when we get to what happens is when I have my question.
We'll table it.
He goes off to rescue her, and Channing Tatum is standing up against the car and accidentally locks himself out of it.
Paige, that is one of the funniest, I think, like unspoken bits.
Physical comedy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so funny. Because he's like, I can help. I can be great. And he's like, nah, man, just stay, enjoy nature, enjoy the radio. And then Brad Pitt runs off and he's like, oh, you're just going to start the mission now? Okay. And then he like can't even get back in the car because he locked himself out of it.
Yep.
This movie does everything it can do to make him seem like an incapable person.
Yes.
It's great.
And so he just follows Brad Pitt, who literally just like, he is a one-man killing machine.
Man.
Where he like hops the fence, he like crushes that guy, he like grabs another guy's head and he's like, sleep, which I love that that Channing Tatum tries to do later, and it's just like, no, not at all.
It's so funny though. But yeah, I mean, everything that Brad Pitt does, Channing Tatum wants to do.
I think one of my favorite things is multiple times, because then he realizes Channing Tatum's there and he's like, okay, just don't die. He ends up knocking someone unconscious and then Channing Tatum slaps them on the way down.
Paige, he slaps like 4 people in this movie at various times. And it's always people who are like either not a threat anymore or so much of a threat that a slap's not going to do anything.
Right.
It's always ineffective. And I think that is like a bit that carries throughout the entire movie that I think is hilarious.
I loved it because it happens 2 or 3 times in this scene where Brad Pitt has already dispatched somebody and literally as they're falling down, he's slapping them. And Brad Pitt's just like, at this point, it's just disrespectful, man. Like they're already unconscious. Like, we
Yeah.
don't need to do this.
It's like, bro, like, why are you slapping them? But I do love, like, the whole vibe of this scene is like Brad Pitt spent a month with these stunt dudes learning this choreography, and Channing Tatum's been in his trailer that whole time, not allowed to watch. And then they let him loose on set while Brad Pitt and the stunt crew are doing this choreography. And the director's like, get in there, Channing. Try and get in there. And he's just like, oh my God, what is happening? Oh my God. It's like that vibe the whole time. And it's so funny. I don't know if you heard that. And if it picked up on the mic, that was me miming what was happening. And I knocked my desk and my can fell over. Sorry. I didn't spill anything. We're good.
There you go.
But it was hilarious. Paige, how funny was it when Brad Pitt finally gets to Sandra Bullock by Assassin's Creeding up that tree and running over the front of the tent and jumping down and like saving her? He's like, you're going to be okay, ma'am. And he starts like cutting her out. And then we don't see Channing Tatum doing the Assassin's Creed part, right?
No.
But
no.
you know we tried it because
He falls.
out of nowhere, you see Channing Tatum just fall down from the roof on his side.
It's a great dummy drop. It's hilarious.
It is so funny, guys. He just wants to be Brad Pitt so bad. It is almost like if it wasn't so good-natured, it would almost be considered stolen valor. Like that is how badly he wants to be Brad Pitt. It's so funny.
Well, my favorite is Brad Pitt's cutting her out of her restraints, and she just goes, how are you so handsome? And he just goes, my dad was a weatherman.
Oh, that makes sense.
As if that means anything.
I don't know, Paige. That checks out, actually.
Well, but then he like spreads her legs apart very seductively so he can continue cutting her off the chair.
Oh, you mean saving her life, Paige?
Well, because somebody else pops up that Channing Tatum slaps, it does nothing. But they then have to take her in the chair in a wheelbarrow to rescue her.
I'm sorry. I'm going to pause you right there.
Sure.
How do you say that word?
Wheelbarrow?
Wheelbarrow.
Yeah, a wheelbarrow.
Cool.
What do you call it?
I'm not going to say it because I'm sure I've been saying it wrong for decades.
It's a wheelbarrow. That's how it's spelled.
Oh, like that's going to stop me from saying it wrong, Paige. It's not a wheelbarrow?
No, no, it's a wheelbarrow.
Welcome to the South, baby.
Anyway, I do love that things start exploding because Brad Pitt had like put charges on some of the cars.
Yeah, because Brad Pitt's a badass.
He's a badass. Daniel Radcliffe just goes, why are things exploding?
Yeah.
Like too calm, but I love it.
I feel like they shot a lot of the Daniel Radcliffe scenes at the like Lost City of D section.
Yes.
On a green screen, just like in a day. Like, Daniel, give me like 12 reaction shots and then we'll cut it in later. Because a lot of it is like him angrily walking down the center green screen thing, right?
Yep.
And like looking pensively at people. And like it's just cut in. I don't know. You could have shot Daniel Radcliffe out of this movie in like 7 days tops.
Yes. Well, my favorite is they make it back to the car and Brad Pitt immediately does the like, shh, you're safe now. And she's like, how are you so calm? And he holds his palm over her chest and she just goes, is that Reiki? And he says, I think so.
No, it's definitely Reiki. She says, are you healing me? And then he says, I think so. And Paige, I think that she, not to quote Ginger Minge, but she damn near floods her basement.
Flood
like
her
she's
basement.
super into it. And I get it. Like it's Brad Pitt. You all know what he looks like. He's like silver fox, long hair. It's Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And you know he likes to eat. So she's into it.
Here's my question. They don't discuss any prices for saving her. We don't hear it. He immediately takes the job with very little info. Do you think that he does these jobs saving ladies just to bang them afterwards? Like he has a fetish?
I don't think he does it for that reason. I think that's his favorite perk.
I'll accept that.
Nice. Paige.
Yes.
My favorite part of this whole scene is like Channing Tatum really being the most obvious I'm in love with Sandra Bullock third wheel in this moment. It's so funny to me because he's like, hey, shouldn't we like get in the car instead of like pretending I'm not here? It's so funny.
I've got some quotes too because
Yeah.
he's like quoting these like esoteric things to her. And then as this is happening, someone shoots him in the head and we just get the reaction shot of Channing Tatum getting just painted with the dude's blood.
And Paige, I want everyone to go back and watch his reaction because it is the funniest reaction I've ever seen to getting a brain splattered on your face. It is, but like that is what I would do. He's like, like it's such a let's just say this. That man is okay looking goofy on screen, and this scene is better for it. You know what I'm saying? Because he looks real silly.
Real silly. Meanwhile, Sandra Bullock is like, okay, she's in action. She grabs Brad Pitt's gun and goes to toss it to Channing Tatum, who is still flailing from the blood, and knocks it back over the car. Does not catch it.
No.
And then has to try and cram her into the back of the car, still in the chair. And she's like, I can't fit. And he's like, do a Kegel or something. And she's like, what do you think Kegels are?
Kegel it! He yells, Kegel it!
Kegel it!
I lost my mind. I'm going to start yelling Kegel at it, just like real opportune moments.
I'm just going to, under my breath, be like, mount it, mount it.
I think it's something that ladies should reclaim. I'm not going to mansplain this to you, but I think it's something that ladies should reclaim. Just be like, ladies, we got to Kegel up.
Kegel up.
Let's do it. We got to roll. Kegel up, ladies. Like nut up.
Cowboy up, which I never understood what that meant.
It means boots up. Cowboy up is a cinematographer thing.
I've heard that version, but why do people have stickers of it on their car?
Because they like anything from the shins to the top of the dome. The answer is I don't know.
Okay.
I only know the cinematographer version.
Anyway, they take off in the car. He crashes against trees and everything. And because he's trying to clean the blood off of his face because he's freaking out. And he's like, there's brains in my mouth. I can taste his thoughts. And you're just like, how much of this did he get to ad-lib?
Probably a lot. I do feel like there's a lot of ad-libbing between him and Sandy B, and they're nailing it.
Yeah.
I may be wrong about that, and it may all be written, but it feels like they're just having the most fun, and I love it.
It feels like it.
But I love when he's like, I can taste his thoughts, and the thoughts he tastes are insane. They're like, he just traded people. He loved me. It's so insane. Channing Tatum is having a rough day at work. He's having a bad day.
So rough, but he swerves. He almost takes them off a cliff. Miraculously, Sandy B fell out before the cliff.
Yeah.
And so he can get her out of the chair. They're working together. And she's like, why didn't you catch the gun? And he's like, why didn't you say catch? She's like, I said here. That's a synonym for catch. And he goes, that's not a synonym for catch. And I was like,
he does say cinnamon, yeah.
It's like, oh. But she does the romancing the stone of breaking the heels off her own shoes.
Yeah.
And she's like, let's call for help. And he's like, well, my phone's down there. So they make their way down to the crashed car.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Daniel Radcliffe is like, okay, go kill them now, please.
Well, but not Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, kill him.
So they actually think that Channing Tatum is a special forces badass. They think he's
one of the six.
One of the six. Yes, exactly, Paige. They think he's one of the 6 SEAL teams of the famous 6-membered SEAL Team 6.
They're incredible. It's amazing that they were able to do that much with only 6 people.
This is why James Bond is famously 7 people.
Well, I ascribe to the theory that James Bond is a code name.
It is a code name. It has to be, right?
Yeah, that's why there's 7 people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why it could be a lady.
It was a lady in one of the movies for a very brief time.
Very briefly, but only the most recent one, and people were real dicks about it.
That's fucking stupid.
I know.
Get over it.
We cut back to America, where Beth, the agent, this is where we get the close-up on all those crazy headshots.
Oh my God. Well, we get those because Daniel Radcliffe is setting it up he must be one of the most fearsome men in all of the world or whatever. And it cuts to him looking really Steven Seagal in the 80s.
Yes.
A terrible karate pose that everyone bought because it was a new thing.
Well, and one of them was pure Fabio, where it's just an undone shirt and whatever. But at this point, Beth is talking to the police with the social media girl and her grandmother that she's clearly trying to care for.
Yes.
And she's like, social media girl, can you help with Nana? And she's like, okay, sure. Hey, Nana. Hey, slut. I was like, oh my God.
When she called grandma a slut, I lost my mind. I was like, yep, truly anyone can work in marketing.
But they're like, yeah, she's on that island. That's outside of her jurisdiction now. So you're going to have to go to the feds. And she's like, I guess I will. And they're like, put in a good word for us.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she's not gonna.
Dude, when they cut back to her and show her face, man, that was such a good look from her because she was like, I ain't doing shit for you. You haven't done shit for me. Get out of my fucking house.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Sandy B and Channing Tatum have made it down the cliff to the car. He gets his extra bag where he brought her string cheese that she eats by taking bites out of it like a monster.
Paige, she's starving.
Yeah, it's still string cheese.
If I hadn't eaten in a day, I would eat string cheese like it was a carrot too. I got it.
I won't condone this behavior.
I do love that he's giving her cheese. He's like giving her water. It's clear he cares for her. He knows what she likes.
So much.
Like he's in love with her. And I do love that like he hands her the water and he's like, I couldn't find glass bottles, but I know it's plastic. We'll just like hang on to it and we'll throw it away when we get back to town. It's so funny.
It's like my husband in the morning being like, I made you turkey bacon. It's in the kitchen. Like you just have to get that far down the hallway to eat it. Anyway, she does keep the jumpsuit on because it's on loan. And they're going to try and make their way using the map through the jungle back to the airport.
Yeah.
But it is a massive jungle and the bad guys have ATVs.
I thought they were motorcycles, but I guess they're ATVs first and then motorcycles later.
Yeah, motorcycles are second, yeah. But as they're walking through the jungle, he's like, why'd they take you? Was it sex stuff like taken? And she's like, no, I thought so too, but it's like history stuff.
She was like, thank you, but it's not that. Yeah, I love that.
But this is also where we find out that Daniel Radcliffe's character has a history of stunts like this, where he had like found something at Machu Picchu and he had like tried to raise the Titanic.
I loved the tried to raise the Titanic bit. I was like, oh man, we were like just a few days before Ocean Gate. Like,
I know.
We could have got that. You know what I'm saying? But like that hadn't happened yet.
Right.
The only topical joke in this movie is roll over like a cruise ship or whatever when they're trying to get in the hammock.
Yeah. So she gives him a breakdown of like, he thinks it's the Crown of Fire. This is what he's looking for. This is, why we're doing it. And they get to a river and she's like, let's go in the river because they won't be able to track us in the river. Which, had she not been wearing a sequin jumpsuit that sheds sequins like it's its job, they might have at this point kind of lost their trail.
I think that they sort of do lose their trail a little bit, but like,
yes,
because they're able to pick up on the sequins, they just have to find where they got out of the river, and follow those sequins again. But it does get them a little bit further away from them. Yeah.
Well, and I do love that they're like swimming and he's like, why is it warm here? Are you peeing? And she's like, swim around it.
Yeah.
Swim around it.
I do like that she's like, yeah, but like, you don't have to swim in it, weirdo.
Yeah. They get out of the river, they get onto the shore, and he goes to take his shirt off. He's covered in leeches. She at no point takes her clothes off, and I'm like, girl, you probably got some leeches. I know she says no, but like, everybody be having leeches.
Yeah, she said the suit probably scared them away, and like, doubt it. But the movie posits that she doesn't have any, and that's fine, because she like pulls like 3 or 4 off of his back, like grip it and rip it, or whatever they say, right?
Yeah.
And like, then he takes his pants off. You're welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I did this for you. And then she like pulls a bunch off his ass. And this is where Stacy butt stuff should have come back.
Sure.
Ripping it off his butt. I'm going to call that one Stacy. There's plenty of jokes she could have done to make that call back. But when he turns around to let her check and see if there are any on his dick or front section, she gets full-on dignitized.
Yes.
And only speaks in gibberish for the rest of this scene.
Yeah. But we see that the trackers have found her sequins and they have now entered into the water and they're just like ripping those leeches off like it's nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, she sees his 22 Jump Street, if you know what I mean.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Fuck you, science. But they also find the waterfall. So this is where she finds the drawing of the ladies, and then she compares it to the little like shred of papyrus or whatever that she has.
Yeah, because she stole that. When Brad Pitt saved her and Channing Tatum, as Brad Pitt was pushing her in that wheelbarrow that I made fun of Paige for saying correctly, like Brad Pitt is pushing her, and because he wants to help so badly, Channing Tatum is running in front, holding her foot in the air. It's an insane shot. Anyway.
Yep. But she then is able to kind of like decipher what the rest of it should say, and that he's buried in the well of endless tears. So there's a sinkhole directly below the volcano, or near the volcano, I should say, at like the base of it.
Yeah.
And that's allegedly where he's buried. But at this point, she thinks it's a metaphor. She doesn't think it's a real place.
Right.
As they get out of the water, Channing Tatum has other shoes for her. They like have to climb to get away because they are cornered by the trackers. But he helps her climb up that side of the mountain by getting her to breathe, by being like, do you smell that? And then putting him kind of piggybacking. He puts his head in her crotch and pushes her up the rest of the mountain.
Oh, you've never been domed, Paige?
No, but I'd like to try. Can we do it without the climbing part?
He does just full on like head into crotch. That's how he lifts her up the mountain.
But they get up to the mountain. They start their camp. They've got a fire, they've got everything, and she's like, oh, I wish Beth could have seen it. She accidentally pours his like skin oil on the fire, but it means that they have a big fire.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in America, we have Beth trying to fly there herself to save them, and she's on the phone with Social Media Girl, who are like, don't worry, I've got Loretta Socials on lock. She's been super kidnapped at Shawn Mendes.
Hashtag Shawn Mendes.
But back on the island, we find out that Channing Tatum doesn't like to be wet because he has a skin problem, some sort of atopic dermatitis.
Yeah, he says eczema.
And that's what his rosemary oil was for. He says eczema. It's a type of, yeah.
Yeah, but that's when she realizes that the oil to help him with his eczema was what she poured all over the fire to start it.
Yep. But he does have face masks, so she puts those on his back, and that's kind of nice.
He brought them for her too, Paige. Like,
I know.
He loves her so much.
He loves her so much.
It's honestly sweet. Like, I really like it.
And I do like that she's putting them on his back, and he's like, this is how Dash should die.
Yeah.
But they do have to share a hammock because it's a one-bed trope, and it's very sweet.
It is. But they do sort of like try and sleep back to back, which you can't do.
You can't.
So when it cuts back to them after the scene we're about to get to, they're like...
They're all snugged up.
Yeah, they're snuggled. It's really sweet.
Meanwhile, the villains circle up. And Daniel Radcliffe is like, good job losing her in the jungle. Like, what am I paying you for? And this is where they deploy the motorcycle people.
I did love the motorcycle people, but we don't see it pay off yet.
Not yet. We cut to Beth gets there at the airport and she's like, great, I want to board my next flight. And they're like, there's no flight for you. The pilot's sick, so come back tomorrow. And she's like, no. And much like 6 days and 7 nights, someone shows up and is like, I'll take you. I got a cargo plane. And it is Oscar Nunez from The Office playing a character named Oscar again.
And the way when she asks, I have one question and you can't lie to me. Have you ever murdered anybody? He goes, no. And then stares at her so seriously. It's terrifyingly hilarious.
It's played so well because she's like, I don't buy it, but just so you know, I will murder you first.
Yeah.
And my favorite is that his job, because he's like, we'll drop off stuff and then we'll go to your island. And the stuff that he has to drop off is illegal birds, which is the same thing that Michael Douglas is doing in Romancing the Stone, which I found very funny.
I honestly did not put that together. That's so funny.
There's a lot of callbacks to Romancing the Stone, 6 Days, 7 Nights, like all the movies like this.
This movie heavily borrows from those, but it also is like, these are all tropes from this type of movie, and it's just making sure it delivers on the promise of those tropes.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it.
I do love that he's like, okay, take me to my plane. And she just goes, you are weird. Let's go.
Yeah.
So funny.
I don't think she's not into it, though.
Well, she says later platonic, and so I'm going to take her word for it.
Oh, yeah. I think once she realized the relationship with the goat, she was like, oh, I'm out.
Meanwhile, they wake up in the hammock, and I don't know if you ever had to sleep next to somebody wearing sequins. Not comfortable. That's going to irritate his eczema real bad.
Paige, I have never slept next to someone that I know of in sequins, but I hope to one day. Actually, I don't know if Natalie owns any sequined things.
Even sleeping in sequins is uncomfortable.
I would imagine it would be terrible.
Yeah, it's not, they're a limited time wear kind of a thing.
2 hours and then it's got to go back. It's on loan, Paige.
It's on loan.
They set it up in the movie. Sequins are like Taco Bell. You only rent them.
That's fair. That's fair. Anyway, she gets up the next morning. She's looking at the parchment and Channing Tatum is like, what is that? And he's like, you're still going after the treasure. And she's like, I gotta, right? Like, I gotta. And he's like, they're never going to stop hunting us. And she's like, but I gotta.
Yeah. And earlier on, like before this shit like really hit the fan, he was even like, oh my God, we're living out like one of the Dash and Love Good or whatever fantasies or whatever. So like he was on board and now he's like, no. It's too bad.
No.
We have to go back to town, call the cops or whatever.
Well, and she is pretty mean to him in this moment of just like, you're a fucking model. You don't know anything. And he's like, you don't know me at all. And like, here's my story of how I ended up on the cover of your book. And I used to be embarrassed about it. But then I saw how happy it made people. And you know what? Fuck it. If you can make people happy, great.
Yeah. I loved, honestly, I sort of liked what she was saying and then his response to it. I like what it set up, right? Because it is like, she's not just making fun of him in that scene. She's like shitting on herself too.
Yeah.
And like this thing that she created and the community around what she created. She's like shitting on all of it. And in that, she does reveal that like you were chosen at random and then it became the only thing you're known for. So like, that's real sad for you. And he was like, I sort of had that relationship to it early on. And then I saw how happy it made people. And then I was like, how can I be embarrassed about something that like makes people this happy? So I kind of got into it, and you should too, because like you should respect your audience and the people who love what you create more than to call it schlock. And I was like, I love that. That's like exactly right.
Yeah.
Even if it's crap, but people love it, like be proud that you created this thing that like people like.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that to the band MGMT, but like, guys, get over it. The songs you wrote as a joke are better than your serious songs.
Oh, do they never play that one song?
Their whole like first album was like a joke. They were like making fun of bands.
Oh, geez.
And it like that is the only album that people like love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I was like, off the top of my head, I only know that one song, but everyone knows that one song. Yep.
Yeah.
Your mic cut out, but I know it's the right one.
Yeah, it's that one.
Anyway, they're walking through the fog, not really talking, but as they are kind of walking, they hear the motorcycles, and now they have to kind of run from them.
They're like being chased down in the jungle by these like, I'm just going to say it. It's just like in Star Wars when they're chasing Luke and Leia on speeders. It's just like that, guys. And they're on top of them.
Yes.
And then they just disappear so that Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock can have a really cute and silly conversation about this trap they're going to lay. Because Sandra Bullock is like trying to like outthink an answer. And then like, this is supposed to be when we see Channing Tatum's true value in the relationship.
Right.
Again, we've already seen it once, right? But like that he can be kind of clear-headed and help her through things. And it's great. I actually love that as like a relationship metaphor. But he's like, can I just explain the plan to you? And then it cuts to like her arms and legs on a twig thing.
Yes.
And the motorcycles who are now back are chasing it down. And they're doing the Star Wars thing where they're trying to like knock him off the speeder, or in this case, the motorcycle. But instead of like when they pull the thing tight, the guy falling off of it, they let go of it. So it just covers his face. And then he drives into the other motorcyclist and knock them both off the fucking mountain. So like they accidentally kill both of the motorcyclists.
Well, and the conversation afterward, they were like, they were driving reckless. It wasn't our fault. We could have never predicted this. And then she collects what's left of her sleeves and carries them the rest of the movie, which is very funny.
Paige, the way that her and Channing Tatum justify murdering two men in this moment didn't make me believe Channing Tatum certainly didn't have anything to do with her husband's demise. I'm just saying it's possible.
Just saying.
He could have maybe he saw her husband driving recklessly on a motorcycle.
Maybe. Anyway, they move on, and as they're walking, they start to see a town kind of in the distance.
By the way, that town is going to end up being, I don't know, Mexico at Epcot. Like, it is such a set. It's so funny to me.
It's the same set from Romancing the Stone.
Is it exactly the same set?
Like, it is the same set.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense.
It looks almost exactly like it.
That makes so much sense because it's definitely a set.
Yeah, it looks very much like it, down to the tables being different colors and whatever. I've been trying to find out if officially it is the same. I doubt it's exactly the same, but it looks like it's just at Universal Studios.
It looks like it's at Universal Studios. Like it's that kind of set.
Meanwhile, Beth is on the plane with Oscar where she meets Randy the goat, and she's like, hey, if you're here, who's flying the plane? And he's like, autopilot. And she's like, can you go fly the plane, please? And can you take Randy with you? And he's like, she's on break, which is probably my favorite.
I thought that was the funniest, and I bet that was ad-libs.
I bet it was.
I don't know much about that guy, the guy who plays Oscar in literally everything.
Oh, Oscar's hilarious.
But I have heard, and this is very secondhand, but I have heard that he is one of the most well-respected improvers in the game.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'd buy that. Every time you see him in movies like this, and I think Sandra Bullock must like him a lot because she puts him in almost every movie she does.
Yeah, because he was also in The Proposal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he plays similar characters in all of them. It's like Sandy B calls them and she's like, hey, we're going to do another heist of the American populace. Will you be my fool? Right? And that's the role he plays in every one of their movies.
Yes.
Well, and it's not really a heist, but they just make a great movie and they get a bunch of us to pay for it. It's good work. It's good work if you can get it, Paige.
Yeah, good work if you can get it. They make their way to the city that looks like Romancing the Stone. It's
great.
And this is where they talk to the police. And I immediately was like, those police are on Daniel Radcliffe's payroll. I know it.
Paige, I don't know if you saw this. There's actually a very subtle hint that this police station is owned by Daniel Radcliffe. It's very clear, but it's very subtle. And that is police is spelled Police in this, I'm assuming, Spanish-speaking country. And I don't think you spell it that way in like those countries. I think you spell police differently. I think this police department was set up by a British man. Actually, if it's a Murdoch, it's an Australian.
It should be Policia.
I don't know. I don't think, well, maybe let me just Google it because I might be wrong, but like.
I don't know for sure either way.
Yeah, it's Policia. It's Policia. It's Policia.
I mean, that's what I would have expected it to be.
Yeah, but in the scene, it's like soft focus so you can't see it really well, but it's definitely spelled police like we say it here.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, Daniel Radcliffe made that.
Yeah, I was like, the whole island's on his payroll, 100%.
Yes.
But they tell them, hey, we're looking for him. Don't worry, we'll get you on a plane in a couple hours and you guys will be on your way home. But this gives them a chance to shower and change. And then she ends up dancing with Channing Tatum, which admittedly, this dancing scene does go on too long, but I don't care because he's a damn good dancer. It's sexy as hell.
Paige, how dare you? If you were wondering if there was going to be chemistry between the two of them, they let them dance together to a bossa nova, and it's Channing Tatum. I'm surprised she's not pregnant. And yes, I know she's 60. Like, that's how sexy it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bossa nova, and Channing Tatum knows how to move.
Yeah.
I've seen Magic Mike. You made me watch it.
I made you watch Magic Mike XXL. You've never seen the first one.
I still think that qualifies as a Magic Mike because the titular character, and yes, I said that for a reason, is still in that one.
Sure.
I forget which one it was, even though you just said it.
XXL, the sequel.
I still think it should have been called The Squeakquel.
The Squeakquel. The reason that they have them dance this long is so she can translate the lyrics of the song.
Yes.
Demonstrating A, that she speaks Spanish, and B, that the whole song is about facing a future without the person you planned it with, which is basically exactly what she's going through.
I know.
But then she hears a lyric in the song that's the pit of endless tears.
Yeah.
And she then has to go ask the singer about it. And it's a sinkhole. So it's a real place.
Yeah. It's like, we haven't really been talking about the metaphor, but like throughout the movie, like there are like these milestone moments where it's like another thing that like gets you to process or start to like think through your grief and like get in touch with it. And like, so as we're moving closer to the actual place, you're like getting closer to that metaphor. And it's like, they do such a good job weaving it in, even though it is a silly and fun movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So they decide they're not going to get on the plane. They're going to go and look for it the next morning. But as soon as he turns around to go find a ride, who should show up but Daniel Radcliffe and his cronies because the police told them.
Yeah, I mean, the police are owned by Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah. Fuck the police, specifically in this instance, because they did them wrong.
I forgot that was the next line. Like, nobody remembers that.
Yeah.
Fuck the police, specifically in this instance.
Oh, hey, also, fuck the policia.
Well, okay, but that's actually the police that aren't owned by the English guy who owns the island.
That's fair. That's fair. Anyway, they pile her into his tank that does have a bar in it. Good for them.
I loved that he had a tank that he drove around this island, and the only thing he did with that tank was put a bar in it.
Yep.
Like, it's like just like one of those Singer vans. It's not even like a great, like, there's no gun on this tank. It's not a tank.
No.
It's like a nice van. It's like he's gonna go glamping.
Yeah, it looks like the thing they keep the raptors in Jurassic Park.
Yes, it does. And there's like track lighting on the outside.
Yes.
So you can see Channing Tatum really well when he like comes up to them. Because as they're stealing her, like, cause after the dance, right? They're dancing, they're like getting really close to kissing and they don't. And they're like, wait, I know where it is. We can find it. And Channing Tatum's like, well, we have to go. Like, we're so close. We have to go. So he's like, let's do it. I'll find us a ride. And he goes one direction. She goes the other, sort of back to where the lady was singing. And that's when she gets snatched by Daniel Radcliffe and thrown in this tank. But he sees it and he eventually trades his watch for like a really shitty motorcycle. It's actually a moped.
Yeah.
And so he's chasing them in a moped. It's so funny.
With a muffler problem, we will find out.
Well, you see it popping every little bit.
Yeah.
And it's so funny.
But he does climb onto the tank. She sees him. She's like, oh, I think I will have that drink that you offered me.
Oof.
Pours whiskey all over the place because there's one of the henchmen who has a cigar and starts a fire inside the tank.
Literally lights that dude on fire.
Yes. they do stamp the fire out and they're like, tell us where the tomb is. Now they've got Channing Tatum inside. They're both captives. They're taking them to where the tomb is. She's going to have to tell them where it is.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Beth arrives on the island and gets to the actual police and is like, hey, my friend's been kidnapped. And they're like, we're closed. And she starts her monologue with, I have been trying to take a nap for 1.5 years.
God.
And it is just pure solid gold for the next 5 minutes.
She's so amazing. Like, it
So
is
good.
so good. But like, she does convince them to go help her. Like, it's sort of the only time she gets a government official on a break to help her.
Yes.
Because when she did this the last time, it wasn't as effective and she had to get Oscar to take her.
Yep. But meanwhile, they get on a boat to the caves because that's the best way to approach this sinkhole.
Yeah.
And we learn that the other henchman's name is Julian. He will die moments later.
Paige, they name this character and give him one line and then kill him so aggressively fast, I couldn't help but laugh out loud.
It was great.
Yes.
But they find that the only entry into the chamber where the temple's supposed to be is a very, very small cavern that they refer to as a troll anus. But she gets through. They put Sandy B through first, then Channing Tatum. There's no way Channing Tatum would fit through this. Daniel Radcliffe was probably the smallest and could fit through it,
I'm pretty sure he was.
as well as the one remaining henchman. Yeah. But they get through, and it's a beautiful temple. But Daniel Radcliffe's like, why would they build us here? No one could come. Like, you can't get here. It's like useless. And Sandy B is like, that's because it wasn't for people to adore him. This was for his wife to grieve when she wanted to be alone.
Yeah, man.
Like, this is not what you thought it was. And he forces them inside. It's clear that she doesn't really want to go inside.
Inside the tomb?
Yeah.
Of course she doesn't want to go inside the tomb.
Inside the temple, where she is even reverent enough that she's like, I don't know if I want to go inside the temple. Because I think she kind of like reveres the grief and understands it.
Yeah.
But they go inside and he makes the henchman and Channing Tatum open the grave. And this is where he finds that it is just a crown made of shells. And she reads the story on the walls of the temple about he basically collected one shell every day until she admitted that she loved him and he made her this crown.
It was like a rare red shell. Like it was,
Yeah.
he had to go find one every day. Like
Every day.
It wasn't just like I found a shell on the beach. Like it was a labor of love.
Right.
It's so sweet.
Every day for a year. I
know.
love that they snuck in that it was every day for a year.
I know. And I'm not saying that this definitely ended in murder-suicide, but they are laying together in that grave.
I think he passed away and she voluntarily climbed into the grave, which is rough. It's a rough thing to know, but
Who knows?
who knows? Regardless, Daniel Radcliffe's pissed. So he makes Channing Tatum and Sandy B get into the sarcophagus and basically seals them back up.
He doesn't even take the crown with him, which I thought was like insane.
Yeah, but his henchman, Rafi, does leave a crowbar in there that we will find out.
Yeah.
But as they're leaving, Rafi gets ahead of him and gets in the boat and steals it, leaving Daniel Radcliffe stranded. And he says, you thought you could own the island and now it owns you. And I was like, fuck yes.
I loved that. Yeah.
But who should show up? But essentially the Coast Guard, the people that Beth has brought, and they rescue him. Meanwhile, back in the sarcophagus, they use the crowbar to get out. And they can't go back the way they came because it is closed. So they have to go through this kind of like current chute thing out.
This whole thing is chock full of metaphor because she climbs out of the saddest place and she takes off that ring and drops it in.
And leaves it in the sarcophagus.
And she does say the like toast that she toasted.
Sweeter with difficulty.
Yeah.
Or sweeter after difficulty.
Yeah, that I think that was like the phrase that her like meant most to her and her husband. At least that's the way it read to me. And she drops that ring and she like lets go of that grief. And then like there's this other metaphor of like, are we, her and Channing Tatum, gonna like go on an adventure together through an unknown thing that relationships can be, much like a current sucking like portal out of this like temple underground that they're in. I don't know. I loved it.
It looked like a scene from Horizon Forbidden West.
Yes.
There's like a cavern that looks like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paige, when they first revealed this set, it's such a set that I looked over at Natalie and was like, can you believe this place really exists? Like, I just laid it on so thick because it's such a set.
Yeah, it's very much a set.
It's such a set and a big ass green screen. But yeah, it's such a set.
But they do make it out. The boat rescues them. And I love that Beth's first words are like, hey, we found this British guy in a cave. I thought he was a little boy, but then he had a full beard. Wait, where is he going? And he takes off.
Yeah. Well, because they're like, that's the bad guy. He tried to kill us. So he gets up and runs to the back of the boat. And then Oscar tackles him. And it's like, this is a boat. Where were you running? This guy's hilarious.
It made me think of The Stuff, where he like leaves that meeting on a boat and just walks off into nowhere. Anyway, he does get to do the you're safe now. Great. They're all hanging out on the beach. Everyone's finally relaxing. I hope that Beth finally got a nap. But she insists that she and Oscar are platonic and that Randy is his true love, I guess.
I mean, we don't know, and I'm glad not to know it. But I'm afraid of what I might learn if I dug deeper.
Remember that Fanta says don't have sex with animals.
Don't you want a Fanta instead of an animal?
There you go.
You know their famous song, Paid.
Want a Fanta? Don't you want a llama? No.
No a llama.
No llamas. Only Fantas. Anyway, on the beach, Channing Tatum tries to say like a fun Latin phrase that he definitely looked up that just means what's next.
He owns up to it. Like, he totally owns it.
He does.
Because she responds back in Latin and he's like, I only know the one phrase, babe. Like, that's all I got.
Well, her response is basically just like, what do you think? Like, yeah, it's really simple, but he just goes, Buca de Beppo? I don't know. And he's like, well, how would you write it? And she's like, I don't know. How would you write it? And he just rambles about the things that he sees immediately around her. And then she's like, okay, that's enough. They make out. It's very sweet.
It is.
And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you think about The Lost City?
I had a good time with it.
I loved it.
I liked it.
Yeah, listen, it's one of those movies that I don't think I'll remember every plot point of. And I will admit, it doesn't do anything new for like the genre or anything. I feel like it wasn't trying to. It feels like a very earnest and reverent play on action adventure sort of rom-coms of the 80s and early 90s. And I think it's a very true like look at those and like playing with those tropes. And I like it. It's very cute and fun. And it's also written in a very silly way, which I'm here for.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was very, very fun.
But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts.
Romancing fun facts. Ryan Reynolds was originally supposed to play the lead.
God damn it, Ryan Reynolds. That, I think, would have also worked, but it would have been a little bit of a different vibe.
I prefer this, honestly.
Me too. I do think Channing Tatum is the perfect pick for this.
Yeah.
I think Channing Tatum plays a more likable dumb guy than Ryan Reynolds does.
Yep.
And that may be because Ryan Reynolds is too smart for that. But Channing Tatum's got a charm to him that is undeniable as a dumb guy.
Yeah. Well, and the reason they wanted Ryan Reynolds is because this was supposed to be like a reunion of the proposal, essentially.
Yeah.
This was filmed in the Dominican Republic.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah. Oh, it's gorgeous. The scene with the chair and the wheelbarrow was filmed in one take.
I got you saying it wrong.
Which is amazing.
That is amazing, honestly, because Brad Pitt gets like the hair fling so perfect.
So good.
While Channing Tatum is literally just holding her front ankle as they run and the explosion goes off. It's so cute. And it's in slow motion, and Sandra Bullock's face and reaction to that explosion lets me believe that in the back of her mind, she was like, I'm going to have to fire a stunt guy because that was too much explosive.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
She just looks very shocked by how big it was.
Yes.
Which is the second time we see her make that same face in this movie.
Absolutely. The fictional island, Isla Hundida, is Spanish for sunken island.
Okay, that works.
Yeah. The book tour that she's supposed to be on is called Romancing the Page, which is a direct reference to Romancing the Stone.
Yes, I saw that. I was going to bring that up. Yeah. It's a direct reference to this podcast, guys. Like they are paying homage to this podcast. And if they want to say it's not accurate, if that's not true, they can come on and we'll definitely let them say whatever they want if they want to guest on this podcast. That'd be great. Please come on the podcast.
There you go. Brad Pitt's character was introduced while eating, which we covered. But what you might not know is the first time that's actually happened is Fight Club, even before Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
This is the second time that Daniel Radcliffe has played an eccentric millionaire who pressures a protagonist into aiding in his schemes. The first time being the worst named movie of all time. What is it, Todd?
Paige, I've told you I really don't want to talk about Harry Potter on this podcast, man. It's like too controversial at this point.
No, it's Now You See Me Too. And instead of Now You Don't.
How dare you bring up How You See Me Too? I hate that title so much. I hate it. I actually sort of love both of those movies, though, because I'm a sucker for heist and magic.
So, Daniel Radcliffe at one point calls Channing Tatum Fabio, and this is a reference to how many romance novel covers Fabio did as part of his career. And he looked much like that. He's styled after Fabio in the movie.
Yeah, he has to be. And Fabio was the only model that I know of that got famous off of romance covers.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people who are moderately famous, but that dude was pop culture sensation famous.
Yes. So, Dulcius ex asperus, which is that Latin phrase that translates to sweeter after difficulties, is also the family motto for the Scottish family name of Ferguson and is used within their coat of arms.
Nice. Okay. Does your family coat of arms have a quote?
I don't have a family coat of arms.
Well, it's not a quote of arms. It's a coat of arms.
Like a coat of arms.
Yeah.
Jake's family's does, but I don't think there's a quote on it. And then our name got changed over time, so we don't have one.
I do. Both my sides of families do. I don't think we have quotes though. We just have the coat of arms.
Quotes, I think, are almost more of a Scottish thing. I know other people have them too. That's not exclusive, but I have found that many, many Scottish family names come with a quote.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
I like that kind of history, man. I'm a nerd for that kind of stuff. The tattoo on my back is a homage to my mother's family name's coat of arms. It's the fleur-de-lis with the all-seeing eye of Providence at the top.
That is actually very cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
While guesting on The Ellen Show, Channing Tatum said that he wanted his dash wig to look like Brad Pitt in Legends of the Fall, which we have not watched yet on this show, but we will eventually watch.
I can't believe we haven't. I've never seen that movie.
I've never seen it either, actually.
Oof, that's why we've never done it.
Yeah.
Because it's a formative movie for Gen Xers.
A lot of people, yeah.
Yeah. It's just above us.
Well, and they turned around and styled Brad Pitt's wig to look like the same wig, but roughed up.
Yeah.
So they also styled him as if he was back in Legends of the Fall.
Except with a little bit of gray hair in there,
Yeah. According to the airport codes on the baggage tags, they travel to Inhaka Airport, IHC, in Mozambique, and then the Ahmed Sekou Touré International Airport, CKY, in Guinea.
Okay.
She's supposed to wear the sparkly jumpsuit for 2 hours. She wears it for almost exactly 2 hours because this movie is about 2 hours.
Yeah, it is.
So just under.
Awesome.
This cast includes 3 Oscar winners, Sandra Bullock, Brad Pitt, and Divine Joy Randolph, the newest inclusion to the Oscar winners circle.
Which I was referring to as Agent Exposition.
Yes.
But that's her agent.
Yeah. Her agent Beth.
Yes. I kept forgetting her actual name because at the very, very beginning of the movie, I started calling her Agent Exposition and my brain didn't stop calling her that.
It's Beth.
Yeah.
She won for the holdovers.
Nice.
Cigar Man disappears without any explanation of what happened to him after the fire in the tank.
He's lit on fire. I assume he's dead.
He's not lit on fire. They stamp the fire out. I mean, he catches on fire, but we never see him after that point.
Paige, literally, his dick is on fire. We see his pants catch on fire.
We don't ever see him leave the tank, though, and then he is just gone.
Listen, Daniel, I'm taking a half day. My dick was on fire. I'm going home.
All right. The opening score that is played when the Paramount logo is shown on this movie is from The Beautician and the Beast, which is also a movie we have not done yet, but definitely should. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you so much for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget for this movie was in 2022 when it came out?
$80 million.
Paige, you were so freaking close.
Yes.
It's $74 million, which if you adjust for inflation, you're even closer. It's $79.5 million. So you're very close in today's dollars.
Geez, in just 2 years?
Paige, greedflation be crazy out here.
It's a shit show out there.
But take a guess at what this movie came in at. Not monetarily, just take a guess. And its opening weekend, March 25th, 2022, out of the top 5, where do you think it landed?
3.
Paige. Number 3 was RRR, Rise, Roar, and Revolt.
Oh, shit.
Which it did premiere that week, and everyone lost their minds about it. Still haven't found time to watch it, but I'm sure it's great.
It is 3 hours long, but yes.
That's why I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's a masterpiece.
I'll say they will cheer every word, every letter. But this movie was number 1 in the box office that week.
Really? Okay.
It brought in $30.4 million in its opening weekend. Number 2 was The Batman, and it brought in 20, although it had been out for 4 weeks. It had been out for a while. So, and then of course, number 3 was RRR. Number 4 was the same movie, but for dudes, called Uncharted, and that had been out for 6 weeks.
But it's bad. It's terrible. Compared to this movie, that Uncharted movie was bad.
Hot take, loved the Uncharted movie, but
Todd.
largely because I loved the video games and it was just like a video game. It is that crazy.
It was exactly the video game with no deviation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had the thought, I bet Mark Wahlberg's character could have stopped 9/11 if he'd have been on one of those planes. Like, he like finally convinced me.
Why is it always starting in tombs?
Anyway, but that was number 4 that weekend. Jiu-Jitsu was number 5. Anyway, what were you going to say, Paige? I'm sorry.
I have tried to play the Uncharted games and I am not a fan. I prefer Tomb Raider.
I prefer Tomb Raider too, but I really like the Uncharted games. I prefer Tomb Raider and Horizon Zero Dawn.
I don't like that I can't explore.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I just want to explore and it doesn't let me explore.
The Uncharted games are like playing through a movie, whereas the Horizon Zero Dawn Tomb Raider games are more open world, which I like more.
Yeah.
Agreed. Welcome back to Todd and Paige like video games?
Sometimes.
Okay, Paige. This movie was number 1 in the box office for just 1 week, but it was in the top 5 for its first 4 weeks. It's actually in the top 3 for its first 4 weeks. And it was in theaters for 13 weeks. Paige, its first week out of the top 10 was its 11th week.
Damn.
It did pretty well. Although with that buildup, I would have expected a little bit more than this. Do you want to take a guess at what it made domestically?
Domestically, I'm going to say it makes $108 million.
Shit, Paige! 105.
Damn!
That's a great guess. It's technically 105.3, but if you adjust that to today's dollars, that's $113.2 million. But that's not all this did. It did another $86.9 million internationally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The majority of which came from Australia, which makes sense because that's the land of the Murdochs. They're probably used to this sort of thing down there. But that puts the total up at $192.3 million. On a $74 million budget, I'd say Sandy B and Oscar heisted us again, Paige.
Yep.
I'm fucking goddamn ridiculous, and I apologize.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm amazed that I'm so close today. Credit the Fanta.
It's always due to the Fanta. They also brought in another $7 million in DVD and Blu-ray sales.
I was just shocked that people still have DVDs. This only came out 2 years ago.
I know. People still have VHS players.
That's retro. That's fun.
It is, yeah. And I bet this is a Paramount movie, so they probably didn't make any money to stream it on Paramount, which is where I watched it today.
Yeah.
But if it's not a Paramount movie and they did pay to stream it, they're still making money. It did very well. I'm sure I hope Sandy B and Channing Tatum had a piece of this movie.
I hope so.
I honestly hope they have a piece of every movie. Just like I hope bands, like great bands, when they come out, I realize they got to do like 3 albums for the label and then they get 4 through 10 for themselves.
Yeah.
Which is why bands usually peak early on.
There you go.
And then they're writing songs for themselves later in their career. Anyway, this movie made a ton of money. It did great, but that's your box office. Paige, do you want to hit us with the romance scale?
Our romance scale is a scale of 1 to 4. So what do you give this, Todd?
Paige, it's not that they don't have chemistry. I think they have chemistry. There's silliness to the movie, which I like, but that does take away from the romantic nature of it. I'm still going to give it a 2 because I do think they have some chemistry. It's just not like hot, you know?
I'm giving it a 2 for the dance scene alone.
Yeah, Bossa Nova? Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Paige, if Channing Tatum asked me to dance to a bossa nova, I'd do it with him. I don't know. I would try it out, see what's up.
Yep.
Sexuality is a spectrum, and I'm dancing on it somewhere. But Paige, this week I made you watch The Lost City, and honestly, I know I haven't redeemed myself, but
You're working towards it.
this is the first time we had seen this movie, and I picked it, and I don't have a great track record for movies that I haven't seen that I picked for this podcast, and I think I nailed it this time. Next week, we're going to do a movie that I have seen, but it's been a while.
Okay.
And I don't know if it holds up.
It's been a while.
Oof. It actually was around the time of that song, I think.
Okay.
But features someone from this movie. I'm going to make you do Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Ooh.
Featuring the one and only Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. The movie that started the drama.
Yes, I remember this very much. I remember seeing this in theaters and not hating it. I have also heard that the TV show version is very good and potentially better than the movie. So heads up.
I've heard that too, but I haven't seen it. And it's Donald Glover who, I think helped write that / produced it. So I bet it is pretty good. Him and his creative team do great stuff. Anyway,
Yep.
Your homework for next week is to watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith and then report back for that episode.
Do you have any reviews for us, Todd?
I might. Let's first start off with a Spotify comment. And this one's going to come from our most recent episode, that episode being, oh, that's right. This just came out today, Paige, our Dumpling episode.
Oh.
And actually, right before you jumped on to record, I was approving a bunch of comments, a lot of which dealt with hey, this is such a sensitive topic for me. It was so nice to hear you guys talk about it. I felt so validated, that kind of stuff.
Oh. I haven't had a chance to look because I came straight from meetings.
Yeah. I mean, we were working pretty late today. I mean, it's 10 o'clock my time right now. But I have to say that that's all probably from your side of that episode because I was just making dumb jokes the whole time. Anyway, I do want to read this one, although there are a lot of great ones. And this one is from Apricot Flyer, and they say, when they started talking about butter knees, I was so ready for an under her buttery eye callback. Loved this episode, by the way. Been wanting for you guys to talk about this movie.
Forgot about that time I got butter in my eye.
Under her buttery eye page. So Apricot Flyer, thank you so much for that Spotify comment. I'm also going to read our most recent 5-star Apple review, and this is from Miss Kimber28. And they say, love it, 5 stars. I've been listening since the beginning and I cannot recommend this enough. It lets me experience the movie with fun conversation without having to watch the movie myself. Paige, Todd, and when Mikey was on, God rest his soul, makes the movies come to life for me. So Miss Kimber, thank you so much for that awesome 5-star review. And if you want to have me read your 5-star review or Spotify comment, leave us a 5-star review or Spotify comment and I will do just that. So yeah, if you guys like this show and want to hear our other show where we talk about horror movies, that is The Horror Virgin. That's the only other podcast I am on, but Paige is also on Cult Podcast, which you can find at Cult Podcast. And you can find us on social media. I am at Todd J. Awesome, literally everywhere. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Instagram.
No, it's at Rampage Wesley on Instagram and TikTok, at Paige Wesley on Twitter.
That's right. All right. So that's where you can find Paige. If you want to find the show, we are at Romancing the Pod Show, right?
Yep, Romancing Pod Show on Twitter.
Well, and Instagram, right?
And Instagram, but it's show SHO because character limits. If you start typing Romancing the Pod, it'll come up.
It'll definitely come up on Instagram. I don't know about Twitter because I haven't posted on Twitter in a hot ass minute. So who knows? But that is where you can find more of us. So yeah, guys, give us a follow. Support the show any way you can. We'd love it.
Smash that like button.
Hell yeah.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
Why'd it have to be snakes?
Pleation.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made it weird, Paige. I apologize.
It's all good.
I don't believe ROUSs exist. There are so many tropes borrowed from all of these movies that I love so much. Bye! Channing Tatum couldn't wait to call Sandra Bullock mummy nerds.